Advanced English Arabic Learning Session 106. He wheeled round to confront John eyeball to eyeball. I thought he'd lost his marbles. Let's call on George and his bag of tricks, maybe he can help us. She decided to take the bull by the horns and try to solve the problem. Are you out of your tree? Why don't you put a cork in it? He made a pile selling computers. She won the debate hands down. The French team won hands down. You've been putting off making that phone call for days. Grasp the nettle and it won't sting you. We need to grasp the nettle of prison reform. The government will have to grasp the nettle. I lodged a complaint, but the people who had supported me left me out on a limb. They fussed that the cheese should have been served at room temperature, but to me they were splitting hairs. You've got to have your wits about you when you're driving a car. I'll just pay the whole bill myself. I hate splitting hairs about the charges. If we continue to split hairs, we'll never get this project started. I'm sorry to split hairs, but your portion of the bill is $25.97, not $25.79. I advise her not to put herself out on a limb. I wouldn't go out on a limb like this if I didn't have the data to justify it. She's going out on a limb in criticizing her own party leadership. Don't be afraid to put yourself out on a limb and speak to random people. I spoke Adlib. He's given the task of interrupting the orchestra, playing Adlib and out of time. The pigs are fed on an Adlib basis. Charles had to Adlib because he'd forgotten his script. I figure I can wing it on the details. She can stand up in front of a crowd and wing it. I didn't have time to prepare this speech, so I'll have to wing it. Take care of the pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves. Look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. When it comes to marriage, you shouldn't jump in with both feet. It is a big step. Just jump in with both feet and live your life, no matter what. I wholeheartedly support your campaign. The men set off in fear and trepidation. When things go wrong, don't go with them. If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Nobody can make you feel inferior without your permission. Hone your skills. A cheerful and agreeable companion. They were agreeable to its publication. A compromise which might be agreeable to both coal owners and union. When the lights went out, she was scared out of her wits. The monkey had deflowered an entire section of the garden. Everything is hunky-dory. Everything was hunky-dory, and then this happens. Everything was hunky-dory at the wedding. They pretend everything is hunky-dory when they have just lost their job. Best president hands down. Measure twice, cut once should be my new motto. I don't expect to win. But I am going to give it my best shot. He carries out random spot checks to keep everyone on their toes. She kept us on our toes right from the moment she took command. His lively campaign has kept opposition parties on their toes for months. The customary dole was a tumblerful of rice. The scanty portions of food doled out to them. He drank from a tumbler. The tumbler is not half full. Civil liberties were further curtailed. He said they would curtail Boeing 777 flights. The baby slept peacefully in its cradle. The Middle East is generally held to be the cradle of agriculture. We just hung loose while waiting for the server to take our orders. Just hang loose and it will all work out. Investors are being advised to hang tight until the stock market rebounds. I know you're eager to get inside, but you need to hang loose while I find my keys. People who go to see sports want to hang loose. The Hawaiian shaka sign mean? Hang loose. The White House wasn't about to hang Thomas out to dry. They felt they had been hung out to dry by their employers. We will not let the media hang this man out to dry. He says he's my friend, but then he totally hung me out to dry in that meeting. She was wearing the medal he gave her as a keepsake. I still have it as a keepsake. Just a keepsake to remember us by. She bought a small trinket from the gift shop as a memento of her trip to Paris. After the wedding, the couple will dry the flowers and preserve them as a keepsake. I really didn't want to sing in the talent show, but Janet roped me into it. I managed to rope a few friends into helping us move out on Saturday. He grandstanded about how we were jeopardizing national security. He grandstanded when care was needed. He probably thinks I'm an old fuddy-duddy. They were the most fuddy-duddy parents around. These companies have very deep pockets. They don't mind spending a lot of loot to get their projects off the ground. 10,000 quid is a lot of loot. An all-woman jury heard the case. Our Heavenly Father has heard our prayers. Have you heard the news? I hate bars where you can't hear yourself think. I was shocked to hear of her death. I won't hear of such idiocy. Joseph gravely heard them out but never offered advice. Mary was a fast runner. A 100 meters runner. I am one among 50 runners for the job. They both did a runner and they've been in hiding ever since. The show flopped in London. The play had been a flop. She turned handsprings, one after the other. She flip-flopped off the porch in battered trainers. He finished the day battered and bruised. Battered babies. A pair of battered black boots. A decent pair of trainers. A trainer wore a pair of trainers. The candidate flip-flopped on a number of issues. Don't let it flop. He must be having a nightmare, judging by how he's flopping around in his bed. Be graceful. Don't just flop down. When I reached the chair, all I could do was flop down. I'm going to flop here for the night. The pot rake is a fee charged on cash games. The hand must go to a flop to qualify for rake. She did not throw in the towel despite everything that happened. Recruiting people to participate in a pyramid scheme is a felony crime in the United States. Pyramid scheme often collapses when the pool of potential recruits dries up. A Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investing scam. The most famous pyramid scheme is the Ponzi scheme. The flop would chase them off. Police chased the stolen car through the city. He spends all his free time chasing girls. The company employs people to chase up debts. The cost of the police time needed to chase up every new offense. She was an ardent follower of the chase. A patrol car gave chase and finally overtook him. Clouds rolled up and hid the moon. Nerium oleander is one of the most poisonous plants known. Water hemlock is the most violently toxic plant. I grabbed the classifieds and hit the pavement, looking for a new job. I was relieved to get back in the car and hit the road again. He picked up the phone and hit several buttons. The area has been badly hit by pit closures. If they're cops, maybe it's not a good idea to have them hit. The latest board game to hit the market. We sat waiting for the caffeine to hit. Few structures can withstand a hit from a speeding car. I think people will try to take a hit at my credibility. He was the director of many big hits. Picking a remedy can be a bit hit and miss. His forecast for the weekend is right on the mark. Her suggestion was a guess, but his reaction confirmed that it had hit the mark. Most drugs on the market have been found by hit-or-miss methods. Coastal sunshine sends mercury soaring. The mercury dived to 5 below zero. You left the embassy out on a limb. It's hit and miss on what'll happen. Their estimates were completely off the mark. A lot of the things he says are right on the mark. Individual investors often flip the shares they buy within days. The largest desert on Earth is the Antarctic desert. Don't give the nosy Parkers or the gossips any ammunition. We've always been a nation of nosy Parkers. Parker is an English-language unisex given name meaning park keeper. The harsh lights and cameras were hardly conducive to a relaxed atmosphere. Nothing would conduce more to the unity of the nation. The end. Coming next. Session 107.